Hi everyone, it's Phil Travis and EUH 2032 here at SCF. It's week 12, last week of the class. I will have your papers graded before the end of the week, which everybody submitted, of course, and your final exam is due Sunday, the end of this week. The final exam is all the material covered since the midterm. Please use the study guide. Remember, you're writing one of two essays. The essays are listed on the study guide. Think about the essay in advance. Please do not copy and paste anything. Don't pre-write anything. You can do an outline. If you want to write it in advance and then type it while you take the test, fine. But don't copy and paste anything. I want you writing the essay as you take the test. Make sure your essays are thorough. Make sure you're using specific detail to defend your position and to make your point. So prepare for the test in advance. I think if you do the preparation and use the study guide, you should be just fine on the test. So remember, take that no later than Sunday into the week. It's been a great term, by the way. I hope everybody's enjoyed this class and gotten something out of it. I thought we've had some really, really excellent discussions. I'm excited about your papers. I hope everybody, felt like they learned something in this class. I hope it challenged them to think. I hope everybody enjoyed these announcements and the weekly lecture presentations that I put together for you. Those are things that I enjoy doing, but I enjoy doing all of this. But I do those because I think it makes the class more interactive for a student in an online classroom as opposed to just giving you a reading assignment each week. I give you a video and I give you a lecture presentation, and I hope that those were helpful. I hope you enjoyed the little fun factoid extra credit thing as well. And so anyway, this week our readings the readings are posted in Canvas. And there's two readings. They're from a really great book. It was a book that was actually nominated for the Pulitzer about a decade ago. It's called Post-War. It's by a guy named Tony Jute. And I have the first chapter assigned for you and the epilogue. And the first chapter will discuss the reality of what Europe was like after the war was over, and it's almost impossible to comprehend. And then the epilogue talks about the memory, the difficulty in Europe of remembering World War II and the Holocaust, and the role of history in appropriately preserving the right kind of academic remembrance of this conflict and this absolute human catastrophe that has really embodied more than anything else historical memory for Europe since World War II. So I want you to read those two chapters, and the discussion this week is related entirely to that reading. So I have a presentation this week on post-war Europe, and then I also have these two readings that I have assigned for you. I have made highlights in the readings because, when I read, I always make highlights. And so, it is it's a good amount of material to read, though it's really well written. But if you need to skim it, the highlights are there. So skimming my highlights would be better than not reading it at all. So please read that, get involved in the discussion forum as usual. Take your final exam no later than Sunday by midnight. Use the study guide during the week to prepare and be ready for that final. Use it all during the week. It'll be just like any other one. And hopefully everybody's been doing the weekly factoids, and here's your last chance to get an extra point added to one of your tests at the end of the term. So this final factoid for this week is this. And you will read this actually in the readings this week, but I figure I'll give it to you as the factoid. I mean, I can see how a statistic like this might get overlooked. But the factoid is this. We remember World War II as a war where 50 million people died, which is a really incomprehensible number. You can't really quite wrap your head around that number. 50 million people, died in the Second World War. Well, what we often forget when we think about that number is the absolute desperation of humanity in the post-war period. In 1945 and 46, Europe and the world really was on the brink of a massive famine. Like the threat of global starvation was a very, very real and huge threat in Europe at the time. And the needs of the people that were left in Europe were absolutely desperate. So to go alongside, and this is the factoid, to go alongside the absolute catastrophe of a conflict with 50 million people that have been killed, the majority of which are civilians, as the reading from our class in Annihilation, the Zeller book, pointed out, World War II was a civilian affair. It affected the lives of civilians. Soldiers died, but civilians died in unprecedented and incomprehensible numbers. But to go along with that 50 million people that passed away during World War II, between the Soviet Union and Germany, at the end of World War II, there were a total of 45 million people that were homeless. In the Soviet Union, 25 million people were homeless. And in Germany, approximately, these are estimates, 20 million people were homeless. So on top of the 50 million or so people that died in the war, at the end of the war, there were upwards of 45 million people that were homeless. And these types of figures give us some ability to try to comprehend the incomprehensible. The absolute horrifying human catastrophe that was the Second World War and the massive loss of life associated with it. So the factor for this week is at the end of the war, Germany and the Soviet Union together had roughly 45 million homeless individuals as a result of the destruction of the conflict. Okay, guys, email me that factoid no later than Wednesday at midnight. Get your extra point towards one of your tests at the end of the term. And let's have a great week. The readings this week are really good. I think you'll enjoy them. Let's have a great discussion forum. And let me know if you have any questions. I'll get those papers graded soon. All right, guys.